Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Madden NFL franchise. This is Madden NFL 26. So we got a new franchise coming here in Madden NFL 26. I know a lot of people are asking what happened to Madden NFL 25 series with the Saints, and we're going to talk about that later in the video because there's actually a lot that went down with that series and why I kind of had to stop it. But I saw a lot of franchise updates from Madden NFL 26, and of course, it got me thinking that I really wanted to get this game and make an entirely new series on it because there are a lot of interesting players and interesting teams around the league, and I figured that this would be a fun new way to get things started the right way. Of course, this is going to be brand new. The game's been out for like a month, so I've seen a few things with franchise mode and look pretty interesting. Obviously, Madden and franchise mode in general still have their fair share of issues, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. But I'm excited to get this series underway. This is going to be a lot deeper than the last series because realistically it never really went anywhere. But I'm just very excited to get this series underway. I hope that you guys are as well. I'm going to be making a lot more Madden content and other content on other games as well on this channel. So for those of you who may not be into Madden, we got other things coming on the channel too. Not all sports related. But of course, the first thing we have to figure out is what team we're going to honestly go with. And a little bit of a side note, I think the gap between the bad teams, the teams kind of in the middle, and the worst teams should be a little bit larger. I don't think that teams like the Browns and Giants should be a high 70. I think mid 70 would make a lot more sense because it give more, how would I say it, more, I guess, I don't say it, but more longevity to rebuilds. We're going to Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to, of course, talk about the roster and why I think the Colts will be a fun team to go with. As for the Colts, we're going to go with a defensive coordinator. I think the defense, personally, I think defense wins you games. The Colts have a stronger defense than they do an offense, but the offense is, in my opinion, pretty fun on this roster. But there are a lot of defensive presences on this team that are really enjoyable. And I think the Colts, they have good defense. I think they can win a lot of football games. But one thing for sure, the AFC is a pretty tough conference. I think it's a lot tougher than the NFC. This is what our coach will look like. I'm gonna try to make a habit to change the outfits depending on the time of the year. I just think it'll be a lot funner that way and more entertaining to see different styles in the game because I don't know what all the styles look like. Let me take advantage of the whole coach update because you gotta take advantage of every update in the game. Let's talk about this roster, and the biggest thing on this roster is Anthony Richardson. He's played only 2 years in the NFL. He starts with a contract, but he's on the verge of potentially being out the door in Indianapolis because of those 2 seasons. He only played 17 games, and he has not been very bright in either of those seasons. 13 interceptions in 2 years. And honestly, the Colts, in real life, even here, are looking for potentially a new quarterback. And because of that big question mark at the quarterback position, the Colts acquired Daniel Jones for 1 season, basically a prove-it deal. He's been on the Giants for his entire career. He's been more or less up and down throughout his tenure in New York with more capable receivers on the Giants, or on the Colts, I mean. I think he has a bright future. Now, in real life, the Colts did pick Daniel Jones to be their week 1 starter. That would not be the promise here in this series. Yes, he got to prove it because I think Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are kind of close in terms of the way that they play. But in my opinion, Anthony Richardson is going to be back, but he has not proven it yet with the lack of playing time. Now, that is not to say the Colts have not waited to a quarterback position in the draft. Drafted Riley Leonard in the late rounds of the draft to see if maybe he could be the guy that they are missing. And the guy who can actually develop, that's not Anthony Richardson, although I don't see Riley Leonard playing a whole lot to start out his career. But you never really know, it could come his time. You can't really talk about this Colts offense without mentioning Jonathan Taylor. He's only been on this team for 5 years, but he's in one of the bright spots in the Indianapolis organization, and he had one of his better seasons last year, close to 1,500 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, over 100 yards a game. He's got 2 years left on his contract, but you might start to wonder if Jonathan Taylor might want to leave Indianapolis since the Colts aren't exactly in a winning position, and a player like Jonathan Taylor should be in a playoff position. The Colts would also draft DJ Giddens in the 5th round, the 6-foot running back coming out of Kansas State. He's probably one of the more shiftier running backs you'll see coming out of the draft. He's got a lot of promise later in his career and playing behind a guy like Jonathan Taylor. One thing I want to talk about, the receiving corps, probably one of my favorite receiving corps in the league. And we'll start off with Michael Pittman Jr. Hasn't really had too many breakout years later in his career. He's been more of easily the number 1 target by the Colts, but he hasn't quite broken out just yet. He hasn't been in the Pro Bowl yet. He's one of the higher paid players on this team, making 20 plus for the next 2 years, 40 mil in total. And with a guy like Andy Richardson, if Andy Richardson can develop, then it gives guys like him and Josh Downs a lot more flexibility. Josh Downs had a great year too, 800 receiving yards. And I think he can develop a lot more. I love this dynamic duo with him and Downs. But another player on this receiving corps that I really enjoy is Alec Pierce. Coming into his 4th year in the NFL, he had a great year for year 3, 37 receptions, but 800 yards. Quite the breakout numbers. This is his contract year. I want him to kind of play the same role as Josh Downs, probably him be more of a slot receiver or more of a receiver too. And one of my favorite younger guys, Adonai Mitchell, this is year number 2 for him coming out of Texas. He could potentially be our slot receiver if not Downs or Alec Pierce on this roster. I think he looks really good. Obviously, he still needs more playing time, and I think he'll get that with the bulk of the flexibility on this receiving corps. Even guys like Dolan and Anthony Gould could see quite a bit of playing time. I don't think they're going to get as much as the rest of the guys, but sometimes you're going to get your shot when you're a receiver. One of the highest draft picks on this team includes Mr. Tyler Warren. He was drafted in the 1st round at pick number 15, and this guy's got a lot of promise. One of the faster tight ends in the entire NFL draft. Someone that you can kind of play in the backfield, act as your running back or fullback. The guy that he could potentially start at the tight position or maybe even the fullback position. He's got a lot of flexibility at being a tight end. He is 23. He is a little bit older, not too much older. He's never really been a starter tight end. He's never really gotten the ball a whole lot. He's kind of just been your main backup pass protector kind of player. And I think it shows. I want to try to give Molly Cox a lot of reps to give this guy the chance that he realistically has never really gotten with the Indianapolis Colts. In all honesty, I see him and Tyler Warren battling it out at the tight end position. Like I said, Tyler Warren could play fullback, maybe even third-string running back. The offensive line, Quentin Nelson, he's been on this team for the longest time, been one of the best offensive linemen in the league and on this team. They got a lot of money though, close to $30 million for the next 2 years. And this pay shows for he's been one of the best players in the world. The Pro Bowl appearances that he had in his career. This offensive line I don't think is particularly the strongest outside of Quentin Nelson, however. But I don't think it's certainly the worst. They have a lot of decent players on this team, like Turner Bartolini, Matt Goncalves, and let's not forget about Braden Smith, who's kind of been on this team about as long as Quentin Nelson has. Since 2018, he's got star development as well, 83 overall. He is at the age of 29, but I know the offensive line stats are a little bit glitched out, but not much more about that. I think the offensive line is not particularly bad. I think the strongest part of this team, I think it is the defense. Talking about Quiddy Pay, he's been a guy that's consistently been able to get over 5 sacks in a year. He hasn't really been that guy to change the defense, but I think as a player, he's pretty sharp. He is a other side of the defense, not too lot to honestly tip it. I think that Team Low could take either one of these guys' spots in all fairness. And the bench remains the same thing you playing in year 2 as Indianapolis Colts. I played some matches last season with the Colts. That's how I think he back up to last year. He might not get much playing time in the last year. Over the age of 30. So we gotta wonder if he is someone that we may have to move on from in the future. DeForest Buckner, the guy right next to him, he's had a longer tenure in the NFL and a better tenure in the NFL as well. The only issue with both these guys is that they're both over the age of 30 and their contracts aren't exactly small. Now in all honesty, if we do want to trade to big name players, I think Buckner and Stewart could be potentially put on the trade block if we have to get rid of some big names if we don't play as well as I think we should be. At the linebacker positions, the new names, Mike Sam and Will, Zion Franklin playing in year number 8 for the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's been a great addition to this team. For the longest time, he had 2 interceptions last year, 3 total. He's not in a big pass protection line. I think he's very solid in that position. A name that I like is Samuel Ruby. Off the bench, 5 years, 3-year contract. I want to see him play more of the pass rush run stopper role. I think that just makes more sense for a guy of his stature. And what about the defense? What about Kenny Moore? He's been on this team since 2017, and he's a guy that will net you at least 2 to 3 interceptions a year. He's been very consistent in his tenure as an Indianapolis Colt. He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's a multi-time Pro Bowler. Kenny Moore's got a lot of promise on this team. He is reaching the later stage of his career, so he may not end up aging as well. The Colts added a new name in Javarius Ward, previously known San Francisco Giant, San Francisco 49er, I think, in baseball, to a 3-year contract for $20 million the following 2 years. Our rookies bill, Justin Wally was picked up, and Brown Bunny is injured to start the year off. There's also another guy I didn't really show that we'll talk about a little bit later. And then at the last positions, their strong safety, Cameron Bynum, an 80 overall player who has started up. I don't know much about this guy, but he's seemingly playing well in the conditions in Minnesota. Seemingly did not want to keep him, so the Indianapolis Colts took a chance and signed him for 4 more years. I think he'll be a strong pickup for the Indianapolis defense. That's all we got to look at in terms of the roster. Bynum with 4 years on this deal. I kind of want to take a quick look at the contracts. You do have some guys who only have 1 year left that we're going to have to figure out the contract situations for these guys. Once we hit that point of the season, which won't really be that long, we get to make contract decisions. This team only has 22 million dollars. It's not a whole lot of something. It's how does that kind of get the majority of your money? It's a lot of offensive line on this team. One of the reasons I wanted to go with Indianapolis Colts was number 2 pick Travis Hunter, probably the best skill position player in the entire NFL draft this season. Rookie class, the Jaguars have a promise. They played very poorly last season. I think with the inclusion of Travis Hunter and a target for Trevor Lawrence, I think the Jaguars could do a lot better this year. Trevor Lawrence needs a resurgence because he was actually doing that big contract that he has. 9 out of 10 people never really get traded, but Jaguars could also look for a new acquisition at the quarterback spot with how consistent Jaguars has been. And how more the Jaguars have been their roster actually is. The contract is at 6 years left, including 7 and 2030. So anywhere, and the Jaguars see him as the future. The number 2 reason includes number 1 pick Cam Ward, which I will also say he's ranked extremely low. 72 overall is not really giving this guy a lot of justice with how he played in Miami. I think he should be around the mid to high 70s. High might be a little too high, but I say mid 70s, about 75, 76. This guy can throw the ball. I mean, he's got a bit of an arm strength. He's not he's the best quarterback in the rookie class, but he's not the best quarterback overall. But I think he can grow. But the Titans, as a team, is questionable to help him really grow, since the Titans are not exactly a strong team. They're probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their best players, most of them are older or on the offensive line. Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, Kevin Zeitler, Jeffrey Simmons, Tyjae Spears, and even Tyler Lockett, Amani Hooker. Not a lot of strong names on this team, and the Titans need a lot of time to develop and really compete in the AFC South. I don't really see them doing much this year or years after that. But the last thing includes the best team in the AFC South and one of my favorite teams in the AFC, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans went from being kind of a nobody team to being one of the best teams in the AFC. You even got inclusions like Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb on the squad, and guys who have improved significantly like Derek Stingley, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, who I believe is next, if I don't remember correctly, Nico Collins, and even, of course, we got to talk about CJ Stroud, who's had a huge improvement over the past few years he's played, and he's only played 2 years. Nick Chubb was newly signed for 3 more years. He barely played in Cleveland last year due to injury, so hopefully this will be a new resurgence for him. But look at the stats for CJ Stroud. Crazy numbers in just the first 2 years of his career. Now, I did also make some adjustments to the regression and progression sliders for players. This is basically copy and paste from Octagon Gaming. If you watch Octagon Gaming, you know who I'm talking about, but he is one of my favorite franchise YouTubers. He does not just Madden, but also 2K, MLB The Show, college football, and a lot of other franchise things on his channel. I will link his channel in the description below. But the idea of this whole thing is basically for players who are a lot older to obviously have a deeper regression state than players who are a lot younger, because obviously when you get older, you're not the same player that you were when you were like 27, 20 years old, and players start regressing around the later 20s to about the 30s. And the same can be said, or basically the opposite, for players that are younger. You want younger players to progress a lot more than players who are a lot older. And we kind of are doing the same thing with the positions. Positions that don't really get a lot of XP throughout the season and throughout the game, we're going to see them get a lot more experience. So I guess more like offensive line, who kind of doesn't get as much XP as the rest of the team, or really fullbacks, I guess. And you want to see players in certain positions get less XP because they get the most out of the game, because they play the most reps, and because they do more than other positions. Basically, to have some sort of balance around the league. Something else that I also wanted to try was switching up the draft class strength. This is something that Octagon Gaming also did in his video talking about sliders and things like that. This is going to be something that we change every year. It's going to be completely random every year. I don't know if I'm going to show it. This year we're going to strengthen the class of running backs and receivers, because there's so many of them that a lot of them aren't really that great, and weaken the quarterback position. But this will be completely random next season. I just think it's pretty fun and interesting to do.
The dawn of a new season brings the dawn of a new era for this franchise. There's a new coach in charge, tasked with guiding this team to the peak of the NFL. For someone with dreams of reaching Canton, this first day and their first interview will set the stage for a career to come.
Now, of course, this being our first year as a head coach, we gotta decide how we're gonna build this team from where it is. And I think the defense is really what this focus is. Honestly, being a defensive coach, the defense is going to be the primary focus of the squad, and I want to focus heavily on our ability to get to the quarterback, force bad throws, and maybe even force turnovers on the defensive side of the football. And that's the identity that the team already has with the strong stout defense that it has. around this entire roster. The idea for how we're going to build this team is developing players that aren't really at that level yet and kind of building them from the ground up, especially with the lack of cap space and the age that this team does have. A lot of the better players on this team are a little bit older, so we want to be able to build those guys up. As far as the focus in terms of position, the linebacker position does need a few upgrades, so I want that to be the heavy focus. I think D-line is fine for now. The secondary is pretty good where it is, but in terms of defense, the linebacker position, the back three, is really where the question does lie. I think as a positional flexibility, we are there, but obviously there could be a lot of improvements. But we actually got a position battle going on, and it's surprisingly not at the position you probably think it would be at quarterback, but it's the fact that tight end Tyler Warren wants to meet up with us, talking about where his place will be in the depth chart. He thinks and he believes that he is the best tight end at the position right now, and he's currently competing with Mo Alley Cox, but he has to prove it first. Like everyone else, he's kind of got to put himself in a position to where we believe that he should start. So if he can start this preseason pretty strong in this game against I forget who we're playing, but if he can start the preseason off pretty strong, then I think he will guarantee and lock himself in as a starter. It's against the Ravens, but his goal essentially will be to get at least one touchdown and a total of 4 catches. And if he can do that, I think he can secure his spot as the starting tight end. I did mention his position flexibility as far as potentially being a running back or a fullback. I don't know why Rich are games like this isn't a preseason game, but do what you guys gotta do. If it just gets you hyped for the regular season, then hey, I'm not gonna sit here and complain. But we gotta take on the Ravens for week number 1 of the preseason. How we're gonna go with the preseason games, we're gonna go pretty fast. How I'm gonna do these is just basically not show a lot of the game, show less of the highlights of the game as we're on the way for week 1 of preseason. Nice return at about the 35-yard line as Anthony Richardson will play the first quarter for game number 1. 23 sitting at 6'4", one of the quickest quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I'm also going to be messing a lot with the quick sub thing. This is something I'm going to have to experiment a lot with because for me, I've never actually messed with it before. But 3rd and 11 for the Indianapolis Colts. And if we're just sitting on the move, he will run out the pocket, follow a blocker, thanks to Jonathan Taylor. He'll manage the 14-yard first down as the Colts convert. This will also put the Colts in the Ravens territory at the 39. As it's a play action fake for John Taylor. And Richardson, nice throw on the right side, shakes off a tackle. And it's a first down for Mr. Mo Alley Cox, his 2nd catch of the day. He's now got 37 yards, and he's fighting for a top spot next to Tyler Warren, who we just talked about a little bit earlier. It's 2nd and 9. DJ Diggins in the game, finds an open lane and untouched as he makes his way to the end zone. And DJ Diggins, the rookie, will get his first touchdown, the first touchdown of the game. Not his first touchdown of the regular season or of his career, because preseason doesn't really count this stuff. But it's a nice run by DJ Diggins. Great blocking up ahead to give him the lane that he needed. As the Colts take a 7-0 lead on the first drive of the game. 2nd and 6. Lamar Jackson to the left side, caught by Flowers as he's going to outrun the defender. He'll make it all the way to the 10-yard line. And it was Jalen Jones who got burnt on that play. Zay Flowers has got a lot of speed on him. And Jalen Jones, he's going to be one of the few projects on this team to see how good or bad he ends up playing. As Lamar will bounce this one outside underneath. That's a great play, loss of 1. But they made it 14 inches at the 1-yard line. They're a dangerous team to play in this scenario as Derrick Henry will fight his way into the end zone. It's a touchdown for the Ravens as they fire back with 6 of their own. The Ravens are easily one of the more dangerous teams in the NFL. Obviously with the dynamic duo of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. We are 7th in the game as Anthony Richardson throws a pick, his first pick of the preseason. And the Ravens make their way into the end zone with Cooper Rush, the former Dallas Cowboy, and they'll put another 7 on the board. And that's the only turnover so far. Second quarter, we get to see Daniel Jones. First play as an Indianapolis Colt. First and 10. He'll hand this one off to DJ Diggins. Bounces outside. Reaches the second level. And he'll reach the 49-yard line. I want to see if DJ Diggins is as shifty as he was in college. He looked very promising last season. Hopefully he can reflect that in the NFL. Nice throw up the middle. That's caught for another first down as the Colts move the chains. Ogletree, the third string tight end on the squad. Nice throw by Daniel Jones, wide open up the middle. He's got some speed. It's second and goal. Colts sit at the 1, trying to tie this game up. It's a play action fake and makes the throw. Caught by Tyler Warren. And that's the touchdown he actually needs to guarantee his starting spot. He still needs 3 more catches. Well, technically 2, because he already has one, I believe, at this point in the game. We didn't show it. But they're able to tie the game. But Baltimore makes a field goal, makes it 17-4 as they make their way downfield. And then a huge interception by Jalen Jones. He got beat earlier by Zay Flowers. And he makes it all the way to the 21. And that's a big play on defense, which prevents the Baltimore Ravens from being able to build on this lead. Colts back on offense, breaks away from contact. He'll run, use his legs, and he'll get a first down. Daniel Jones has got some speed on him as well. He showcased that as a New York Giant. Anthony Richardson, like I said, is one of the quicker quarterbacks you'll find in the NFL, despite his lack of play. It's now 3rd and 6 to throw, and that's picked off. He threw it right in the hands of Nate Wiggins. And it's not a terrible throw, but it was a little bit short. Can't really make those mistakes. Luckily, it is the preseason, so these are the type of mistakes that you realistically can afford. Baltimore is able to get the ball in the end zone, now up by 14, as Jones throws another interception to Roquan Smith right up the middle. That's not a great throw. He threw another one during this game, which gives him a total of 3, and the Baltimore Ravens pretty much the score is 20-14. I know the score isn't suggested, but this really felt like a one-sided game. Like I said, these preseason games are going to be very short. We're not going to show a whole lot of them. Mainly focusing on the highlights around these games, and of course the lowlights, because it's preseason. And why not show these kind of things? Because you got to see the ups and downs of these teams. But Daniel Jones, not a great performance in week number 1 against the Ravens. Like I said, 3 turnovers. He does have the 1 singular touchdown, but he wasn't consistent either. Look at the stats. Cooper Rush went 20 of 27. Jones went 9 of 20. Didn't have a great outing. He looked like he struggled a lot. The run game was kind of there for DJ Jennings. He looked pretty damn good. Tyler Goodson, the number 3 string, the 3rd string running back, was solid. Charlie Collar had over 100 yards. Isaiah Likely put us in the blender too. The secondary did not look all that promising in this game. Like, these aren't a lot of things that we obviously saw during the game. And to come to find out, Isaiah Likely was traded to New York Giants shortly after the game. The Giants would give up Theo Johnson to the Rockets Ravens, as well as a few late picks. I think this is a really good pickup for the New York Giants, giving them another target to work with. The Ravens, honestly, if I were the Ravens, I would have traded Mark Andrews, but they didn't really need both Andrews and Likely, and they decided to move on from Isaiah Likely, get some late picks. Got a 4th round pick for next season, as well as a late 7th for the year after. They got a little bit more pick flexibility. They don't have a lot of them. Now we're actually going to talk to Tyler Warren about the game he played. He actually didn't do that much. If you're curious as to what his stat line was, he only had 2 catches, and one of them was a touchdown for 8 yards. So he didn't really complete the goal that he had set up for himself to be the guaranteed starter. So for right now, it's still up in the air. And if you're wondering if the rosters are changed to be what they are in real life, they are. Micah Parsons is on the Green Bay Packers. That's a Vikings fan. This does kind of hurt me a little bit. But we will be playing the Green Bay Packers in week 2. And they've got a strong roster. Their defense is pretty stout. I think when you add a player like Micah Parsons to realistically any defense, that defense is going to get a million times better, as we'll get to see the only Colts home game of the entire preseason. Now, I've never seen this one before. It's actually pretty cool. And again, we're showcasing this like their regular season games, when in reality, they're preseason games, and these games do have merit, but do they really matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't think so. As we're going to get underway for week 2 of the NFL preseason. Like I said, these games are going to be edited a lot differently, but trust me, the regular season games, you're going to see a lot more of how these go. Nice truck on the kick return, another good kick return in the preseason. You might have some problems there, especially with the new rules, but Anthony Richardson, of course, is going to play the first half. And we do absolutely nothing on our first drive, as the Packers are wide open on the left side. And that's a first down for the Packers in Colts territory. It's 3rd and 9. Jordan Love to throw on the right side, in the air, too long, and that's picked off. Kenny Moore the second. He'll bring it back to the 30-yard line. That's a really bad pass by Jordan Love. Way too, like, it was way ahead of the receiver anyways. But it was in the air for too long anyways, so the Colts will get the ball as we reach the end of the first quarter. Handoff to Jonathan Taylor's. He's got nowhere to go. He was just 3 yards. With 37 seconds left to go, as we send through the game, we do have a field goal on our name and a huge run by Taylor for 72 yards, as that will give us our first touchdown of the game, 3rd of the preseason, and we're up 10-0 as the Packers get the ball back. 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. It's the last little bit of time for the starters to play. Love with time to throw. He's going to go to the right side, and he'll find his way to the end zone. And that's a touchdown for Williams, Savion Williams. I'll be honest, that was a bad angle by the safety down there. That was a terrible angle. He had to tackle. Could have stopped him at around the 10. Anna makes a terrible route, takes a terrible route, and unfortunately causes the Packers to score. Over 2 minutes left. That's a nice pass up the middle for Alec Pierce. He'll move the chains, get to his jersey number 14, and reach the 2-minute warning. 140 with 2nd and inches. The Colts still looking to get into the end zone. Play action play, and that is caught in the end zone by guess who? Tyler Warren at the fullback position. The game has been fullback because you don't really have a true fullback. Like I said, he might play fullback, honestly, regular time. I'm not entirely sure yet. It just depends on how things go, but it's basically the same play against the Ravens that we had last week. But nothing goes on in the rest of the game, especially through the first half of the 3rd quarter. Play action fake for Jordan, or it's not Jordan, I'm sorry, Malik Willis. And Malik Willis is going to be sacked. Loss of about 7. And it's 3rd and 16. Malik Willis, yes, is a Packer. He's no longer a Titan. I was kind of surprised when I saw him on the Packers. Malik Willis trying to buy time to throw. He's got a lot of it. Deep downfield, that's batted away. And that would have been a touchdown had Jones not been there. That's a big play by the rookie. Not a rookie, sorry. But Jalen Jones, after getting beat by Zay Flowers, he's made some pretty big plays in the last 2 games. He got beat, but nice job just to get there and make a play on the football and prevent a potential 7 points from the Green Bay Packers. So now we've reached the 4th quarter. It is tied at 17-17. Colts find themselves inside the own 10. Outside pass to the 4th-string tight end Mallory, as he'll make his way to the 25-yard line. And gonna skim through this game. We do unfortunately have to punt. But guess what? It's a pick 6 by Mecky Blackman. He makes his way into the end zone and scores, but he also ends up being hurt on the play. So we have to see how he's doing, which does give us the lead, 24-17. Packers get the ball with 6 minutes left. Malik Willis is put down on the ground with Zaire Franklin, and he forces the 4th down. Great play by the starting linebacker, or I guess you can call it Will or Mike, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be easy for me to call it those positions. But Packers back on offense with 4 minutes left as they try to march their way down the field. Nice throw by Malik Willis, and then guess what? He throws another interception to Jalen Jones. The Colts get the ball back. They're trying to score, at least waste a lot of clock. It's 1:51. Packers have used majority of their timeouts. It's 3rd and 10. They used their last. Goodson can't get any yardage, but the field goal is made. 27-17, 1:21 left in the game, so the Packers have an opportunity. And Malik Willis throws another interception to Jonathan Edwards, and just confirm he is a rookie, which ends the game. The Colts in game number 2 win 27-17. The defense shows up when the offense of the Packers bench can't handle the pressure. Malik Willis, a lot of turnovers in this game, really 3. Jordan Love obviously had the singular one. This is about how our game went against the Ravens. Malik Willis, a pretty bad outing, and he's definitely not getting starting reps as a Packer. Daniel Jones didn't play great at all. He went 1 of 8 with 1 interception. He played completely terrible. Anthony Richardson was great. So this might seem like Anthony Richardson 9 out of 10 is going to get the starting role. Like I said, it's not guaranteed that Daniel Jones will get it despite him getting it in real life. I think that just doesn't make sense. It's a preseason for a reason. The run game was there for both teams, although it's not much. I like Dontavion Wicks. He got a lot of catches on us. But the rest of our offense, in terms of receivers, played pretty damn well. Tyler Warren didn't do a whole lot in game 2, but it was slightly better than he did last week. And the defense, obviously, for us, was there with the sacks from Zaire Franklin. And of course, DeForest Buckner did get one. We didn't see it, but he did get one. And interceptions. Jonathan Edwards, the rookie, got one. Jalen Jones ended up getting one of his own. And of course, Kenny Moore and Necky Blackman got one as well. So we're sharing the reps on the interceptions. We got 5 in the preseason, which I think for preseason football, despite preseason football I think being very sloppy, is a lot. And we're actually going to jump straight into game number 3 against the Bengals. There's not much to talk about with the last game and what happened in between those games. I don't know why they're presenting like this regular game, but this is my 3rd time saying it. This is the last game before we get into regular season action. I'm pretty sure this is how people felt when the regular season NFL is starting. And we're going to jump straight into the Bengals' first possession, as that's a nice throw on the run by Joe Burrow up the middle to Noah Fant, the former Denver Bronco, as they throw all the way to the 30-yard line, technically 29, but inside the 30. He was left wide open up the middle on that zone coverage play. And now it's 3rd and 7. The Bengals looking to convert. Joe Burrow to throw. He's got time to the right side. He's got his man beat. That's caught for a 1st down. They're at 2nd and goal now at the 5-yard line. Joe Burrow to throw. Right side caught in the end zone. And that's Mr. Noah Fant. He made some big plays on this drive. Went all the way downfield and into the end zone. And the Bengals easily fired first. Our defense, I don't think, competes very well against their offense. The Bengals just have that kind of power on offense. There's a nice throw to the left side, and Jamar Chase. Jalen Jones gets beat again, but I don't really see him being Jamar Chase at all in one-on-one coverage. They're going to move the chains, get all the way to about the 25, and as soon as I see him, next play is a 67-yard throw to Mr. Chase. And now we're down by 11. I mean, sometimes that happens. What can you really do? Then we're going to go through the Colts drive. Nice throw to Michael Pittman up to about midfield. Colts trying to get down the field. And then guess what? There's a sack by Mr. B.J. Hill. Forces the Colts to have to punt the ball away as the Bengals get the ball back. Huge throw to Iosivas. I believe that's how you say his name. I don't know for sure. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't want to mess these guys' names up. And we would have gotten the stop had it not been for Iosivas again for 11. Third down, and then they come around third down again to Iosivas again. And it would be great had Kenny Moore not gotten the pick for our 6th of the preseason and his 2nd in the entire preseason alone. Quick throw up the middle, nice pass to Alec Pierce. He gets rocked, but he holds on to the football. That's a first down for Alec Pierce. Down at the 36. Not a crazy play, but I would say that if the man when he was covering didn't get completely juked out of his boots, there's not a drop of rain on this field. And yet you can see he put him on skates. I took a picture of it, I'm sorry, it's just funny. But you put him on skates, and the Colts are near the red zone. Hand off to Jonathan Taylor as he loses the football, but it's luckily picked up by Josh Downs. He was right there. And the following play, they give it back to him, and this time he'll fight his way to the end zone. And the Colts get their first touchdown of the game and shorten the deficit to 4. Jonathan Taylor going to be one of the bright spots, obviously, of this team. We're back to sieving, see if the Colts can take the lead, and they will do so. A 51-yard throw to Josh Downs. It is now 17-14 in favor of Indianapolis. That's the following play, a 27-yard throw to Iosivas. He's got 139 yards, and I have to ask, who is covering him? Because whoever is doing the worst job of their life. With the Bengals 3rd and 10, they're at the 31. Tries to run out the pocket, but he's sacked by Grover Stewart. Loss of 4. I don't believe the Bengals are out of field goal range. And they were not, as they made a 50-plus yard field goal. And off to Taylor, gets to the 2nd level. He'll get past midfield and reaches the 42. Following play for Indianapolis. Now we got the bench players in the game. 4th quarter, Cincinnati up by 3. Deep throw downfield. That's caught for a first down. And I believe that is who makes the play. Beat his man. Went up the middle, smart play, smart throw by Daniel Jones, and just went down with the ball rather than trying to get a bit extra yards. But there's a lot of time on the clock, so no need to force it. 1st and 10 at the 20. Jones throwing into the end zone. That is batted away. Incomplete. They go for the big play. Instead, they'll hand this one off to DJ Diggins. That's not Diggins, but he fights his way into the end zone anyways. And that's a touchdown for the 3rd-string running back, Tyler Goodson, shaking off a few defenders. And that's going to raise his stock for sure. Colts take the lead right back. They're now up 23-20, 24. They can make this extra point. And Tyler Goodson done playing some golf. You would think these things would be penalties, but I guess not. Celebrate. It's the preseason. Why not? Just showcasing the toughness, Tyler Goodson. But 1 minute left. The Bengals make all the way down the field. That's a nice throw, but he went down before he made it to the end zone. So he's down at the 1-yard line. Bengals use their final timeout. Play action fake. That's caught in the end zone. And the Bengals score with under a minute left to go. 33 seconds for the Colts to try and get at least into field goal range. It's the backup tight end Drew Sample in the end zone. It's not the Colts. They got to see what they can do. Close to 20 seconds. Jones with time. He'll run out the pocket and he'll get taken out. Loses the football. It's picked up by the defense. The big fella's going to run all the way into the end zone. And just like that, this game is over. And the Colts will lose off the turnover by Jones. I did try to slide, it didn't happen. But Dan Jones should have been able to hold on to the football. And we'll finish 1-2 in the preseason. Not terrible, but not great. Losing to the Ravens and the Bengals, teams that realistically we should be losing to. So I can't hate on that. That was a nice play to Noah Fant. The Colts definitely look good and bad at times. I think just how the preseason goes. And Daniel Jones played absolutely terrible. Not great. Anthony Richardson played really great with the touchdowns. So I think Anthony Richardson for sure is going to get the starting reps in week number 1. Joe's just gonna have to wait for his opportunities to actually play. The run game's there, and Eo Cevis, I'll figure out how to say his name, just completely shredded us. I don't know who in the world was guarding him, but 10 receptions for 130 yards is not exactly ideal. John Moon would also get an interception in this game, so we ended up with 7 interceptions on the preseason. Let's look at the standings. The Buccaneers, Eagles, and Ravens all finished with perfect records. The Bears, teams like the Bears, Vikings, Rams, 49ers, and Cardinals finished 2-1. Even teams like the Saints and Broncos. The Cowboys, Giants, and Titans finished 1-2, with a lot of the Raiders and even the Panthers. And 5 winless teams include the Steelers, Dolphins, and the Seahawks, as well as the Chargers and the Commanders. But the preseason doesn't really mean too much. The Dolphins even ended up with less than 40 points, averaging 11 points a game. While the Panthers allowed the most with 90, but we weren't that far out of that department. 79 is not terrible, it's not bad. The Bengals scored the most. It's nice to see that the team that scored the most ended up being the team that ultimately beat us in the last game. And Anthony Richardson has secured his starting role for week number 1. Daniel Jones just did not play well. His completion percentage was not there. And he had way too many turnovers and made way too many bad mistakes. Richardson was not perfect, but, I mean, the stats don't lie. He played better than how Daniel Jones did. Ryan Leonard didn't get any reps. That doesn't mean he will not see any time in the regular season. I think he will get his chances where they're there. Jonathan Taylor, not bad in the preseason. I really liked DJ Diggins throughout this entire preseason. He didn't get a lot of snaps, but he played decently well. Tyler Goodson got a few more of the reps than DJ Giddens did, but that's because Giddens was guaranteed to be the second guy up. Daniel Jones did get some yardage on the ground, but he turned the ball over, which is going to happen with quarterbacks. I just wish it didn't happen with him. As far as the receiving core, Alec Pierce was our number 1 guy, and the role for Alec Pierce is a bit questionable because of the receiving core we realistically have on this roster, which I think is pretty spread evenly with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, Mo Alley Cox, Tyler Warren, and even some of the lower overall names on this team that we have. Tyler Warren did have 2 touchdowns in the preseason. I still don't know if he's someone that we're going to start at tight end over Mo Alley Cox. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll have to see how exactly that goes down. He does have hidden development. Obviously, we won't really get to see his depth trait until about later in the season, once we obviously get more playing time, once he gets more playing time. I'm not saying he won't ever start, but starting week 1, I'm not entirely sure. Josh Downs, for all we know, he could end up being the number 1 receiver. Like I said, this receiving core is so evenly spread out to me that there's no guaranteed number 1 receiver on the squad. The defense had its ups and downs throughout this preseason. A lot of big plays that we allowed in the pass game, but they made some big plays at the quarterback, tackles for loss at the running back, and even interceptions. I think this defense is pretty good at where it is. A lot of guys didn't get a lot of playing time, obviously. But interceptions, we had a total of 7. Jalen Jones and even Kenny Moore both had 2. Jalen Jones did have his times where he was getting beat in one-on-one coverage, but he did make some big plays where it mattered. So he could potentially end up being the slot corner for all we know, especially with Mekhi Blackman being out for some time, because he is injured and he will be out for a bit of the season. But now let's get into the stats around the league for the preseason. On the defensive side of the ball, we allowed the most yards, 1,300 yards, including 1,000 passing yards. The secondary struggled despite all the turnovers that we managed to get, which we led in interceptions, by the way. The pass defense was completely terrible. Our run defense was a lot better, but the pass defense was, I don't know what happened. Like I said, the secondary is good, but it does need some improvements on the bench side of things. But as far as the starting aspect, I think our secondary is pretty good. not top tier, but I think it's around the middle of the league. But you can see we did lead the league in interceptions at the very least. So if you got some promise there, 7, and the next best team had 5, including the New York Jets with Sauce Gardner. But the last thing we're going to talk about is the direction of this series and what happened to the Saints series. As for the Saints series, because it was an online cloud save league, I couldn't exactly, once I passed something like, like a game or a trade or whatever, it would automatically save, so I couldn't go back into the game and, reset. So when it came down to the cloud saving and recordings, a lot of the recordings became corrupted on my computer. So after I would obviously play a game, it would automatically save, and once I tried to edit the recording and everything, it wouldn't work, basically. So the recording was corrupted, the recording was basically gone, and I couldn't fix it. And obviously after it happened the first time, I just told myself, hey, I'll just recap the game and what happened. But then it just happened to basically every recording, and I had to get a whole new computer and everything and a whole new system. So basically the Saints series just ended off of that. Everything kind of messed up, and I kind of just at that point lost my drive to do it, just because it was a lot. And on top of me having to do a lot of stuff in outside of YouTube with no work and everything, I didn't really have time like that to continue to keep recording and having to fix the recordings and everything. So the Saints series essentially just kind of disappeared. This Colts series is going to be a lot different because we're going to do things a little bit differently. I have a lot more time to be able to record and edit and everything. The direction I want to go with this series is, the plan is every video is going to be 2 weeks, or at the very least 2 games if we can control it. So episode 2 is going to be week 1 and 2 instead of just week 1, just to kind of help us get through seasons a lot faster. So we're not doing 1 game every episode. I think 2 is a nice little balance. It's not too much, it's not too little. Maybe there might be episodes where we'll end up doing 3, like with the bye week. Maybe we'll end up doing 3 weeks if it seems necessary. It just kind of depends maybe on where the bye weeks are regarding the NFL season, but we'll get there when we get there. So that's my goal for how I want to play this series out. I want the series to get through a lot of seasons without seeming like we're going too fast and without seeming like we're going way too slow. So I think 2 games an episode is basically the threshold. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This took a while to do and edit. I will see you guys next time. Peace out. I'll make sure you like and subscribe. Peace out.